Embracing the tiny house lifestyle. Imagine trading your spacious home or cozy apartment for a 200 square foot tiny house on wheels. Could you really make it work? Living in a tiny house isn't just about downsizing. It's a bold lifestyle shift that challenges your sense of comfort, pushes the boundaries of creativity, and reveals what truly matters. Let's face the dilemma of downsizing. The first thing you realize in a tiny house is how much stuff you actually own, and how little of it you truly need. Imagine fitting your entire life into a space smaller than your living room. Closets become a luxury, and multi-purpose furniture is your best friend. It's not just about decluttering. It's about rethinking the value of every item. Take my wardrobe, for example. I started with racks of clothes and dozens of shoes, but had to pare down to essentials, a few outfits. I could mix and match. At first, it felt impossible, but by the end of the month, I barely missed the extra options. It's oddly liberating to embrace simplicity, knowing that everything you own serves a purpose. Let's navigate the practical challenges. Living in a tiny house also brings a crash course in adaptability. Cooking in a kitchenette requires serious organization. There's no junk drawer to stash things. Storage becomes a high-stakes puzzle, where every square inch must earn its keep. And the bathroom? Let's just say learning to use a composting toilet is an experience you don't forget. Then there's the issue of location. Many cities have zoning restrictions for tiny houses on wheels, which means finding a legal parking spot can be a headache. I ended up renting space in a rural area, trading convenience for stunning views. Adjusting to these trade-offs is part of the tiny living experience. The emotional shift. The real magic of tiny house living lies in its simplicity. Without the distractions of excess belongings or a packed schedule, you start to focus on the little joys. Mornings became about sipping coffee by the window, as sunlight poured in, not rushing to tackle endless to-dos. Evenings were for quiet reflection or gazing at the stars, not scrolling through online shopping lists. Tiny living forces you to slow down. With less space to fill, you start filling your time with what matters. Hobbies, relationships, and experiences. It's a shift that's as emotional as it is practical. A connection to nature. One of the most rewarding aspects of living in a tiny house on wheels is the ability to park it in scenic locations. For a month, I felt more connected to nature than ever before. Imagine waking up to birdsong, spending afternoons with mountain views, and falling asleep to the sound of rain tapping on the roof. The tiny house becomes less of a shelter and more of a gateway to the outdoors. The big question, is it worth it? Living in a tiny house isn't without its challenges. Yes, you'll bump your head on the loft ceiling. Yes, you'll wrestle with storage solutions and miss the convenience of a traditional home. But what you gain, a sense of freedom, intentionality, and clarity, might just outweigh the sacrifices. Would I do it again? Absolutely. Tiny house living may not be for everyone, but it's an unforgettable experiment in discovering how little you actually need to live a rich, fulfilling life. Could you trade square footage for freedom and clutter for clarity? If you've ever considered living tiny, in a tiny house might be just the adventure you need to find out. Would you take the leap? Share your thoughts below. I'd love to hear your take on this fascinating lifestyle experience.